This is Carl Andren of Andren Software Company with a video on making and using maps and charts within SeaMarks. When we have SeaMarks running like this, we have here shown the test file, which is a bunch of bogus waypoints that shows you what you can do with your waypoints and what kinds of colors and items are available. You're going to use maps this way. You get display on a chart, and let's say that, there's a big cluster of points here, so we may want to go to chart operations and select an area, and we'd select this area this way. Hold down the mouse key, or the left mouse key, and drag down and to the right until you encircle a bunch of points. And here we have points. So we'd like to make a map of these points. Now the difference between a chart and a map for the purposes of SeaMarks is that charts can be panned and zoomed and moved all around, but a map is a fixed area of your of your screen with or without Loran lines. So let's say that we have, under chart operations, we can add Loran lines to this particular chart, and we're going to use chain 3 because this is in the Key West area. And so now we have Loran lines. Now, if we're going to print a book, we may want to have this spread out in the book, and every time we reprint the book, we just call up this particular map. So one way to get this particular map from the chart is this selection, make a map from the chart. This brings up the map making and modifying screen. First thing we want to do is give this map a name, and we'll call it KW1. Now we might want to have it, if we want, we can edit the waypoints or the upper latitude by pushing delete there or highlighting. We can round off the lower latitude. Similarly, we can round off the left longitude, and the right longitude is actually calculated based on how it will fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. And we're going to put it in landscape mode because I have this wide this wide screen here. So if this tells us how many Loran lines are going to be. There would be 17 W lines and 21 Z lines on the map. Now it's going to make a map that is ultimately saved away on the disk. So we're going to save this map as the KW1 map, and we're going to save it in the SeaMarks folder. So go ahead and save it there, and it says the map has been saved to C:\/SeaMarks /KW1 map. Okay. Now we're done with that map. Let's see what a map looks like. Go to the map menu and we view the map, and we get the KW1 map. We can see some borders. Let's zoom out a bit. Chart operation, zoom out 2x. Now we can see better that the KW1 map is here, encompassing these particular points. Now, in fact, in some areas of the country, we're going to have a whole lot of points, say along a stretch of reef line. This is a more random set of points, but if we had a whole string of things, we might want to have say a map in this area and a map over in this area, and then we could print a batch of maps, and we can create the list of maps that we want to create. We can also create here a KML Loran grid to put on a Google Earth display, if we should want Loran lines on a Google Earth display. Now let me show you a little bit about this map. If we zoom out further, you'll see that what it created was a map that had enough Loran lines calculated to actually cover the map itself. But that meant that, of course, if I went from this number here to that number over there and so forth, that I had to create a map, Loran grid, for a whole lot bigger area than I actually are going to display on the map when I print it. Now, if you want to modify that map, you can do that here. You go and you say K1 map, let's modify it. So you can change the latitude, longitude. Let's say this is set for 9 minutes of latitude, or roughly 9 miles. So we could actually make it 10 miles by changing that to 30. And we could do this starting at 40 instead of 42. And we could do it in chain 2 instead. So let's make this map. And we're going to change it, let's say we'll change it as KW2, just for ho-hos. And save that map. So that's been saved. So we'll cancel out of the map making thing. Now we could actually keep making maps with the map making screen, but let's go and view map KW2. And again, we might want to zoom out to better see it. And there you can see this now on even longitude or latitude lines and more or less even longitude lines. Except for the right border is where it has to be in order to fill up an 8.5 by 11 sheet. There are quite a few chart operations you can do on this. As we used zoom and we used select area so far. There's identify waypoint. Say what is number 236. If you look down the bottom here, that 236 is the northwest channel of Key West, and it's we can do a center chart on waypoint. Okay, if we click that, pick a particular waypoint, let's say 237, and that will put the 237 in the middle of your screen. Another operation you can have is pan, which is set map center. So wherever this is, I can pan. Let's see, I want to click here with this thing and put that in the center. Or I can click on dry tortugas and put that in the center. So that's another one of your chart operations. You can print the chart. You can change what coastline is showing up. Use the low resolution coastline. Well, okay, we don't see much there. Let's try the world coastline. It defaults back to the most optimal coastline. You can put features on a chart if you have a features file. You can plot routes on the if you have a route file. You can plot track files. You can do track plotting, which is to say, if you have a GPS connected up to your computer in such a way that program can read the current latitude and longitude displayed by the GPS, it will become a track plotter like your track plotter on a boat. Now, if you got a GPS that's not a very good track plotter, has a tiny screen, this allows you to track plot on a very large screen and save the track. And then, of course, charting options, where you can describe what do you want on the screen. You can have numbers, you can names, descriptions. We'll put descriptions on there so it gets massively cluttered. And let's by the way, undo view map. So if we click it again, that gets rid of the map. So we can do charting operations. We can have range bearing lines. And these are 10 miles around Key West Northwest. That gives you 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles. So here it is that if we have set 10 miles, it seems like Dry Tortugas is about 12 miles away from the Key West area. And this is in nautical miles. So we've cluttered up the screen quite a bit. We can take away some of this stuff. We can change the colors that are used for various lines. Loran lines are in red, lat long lines in dark blue, range and bearing lines in orange, you got coastlines in green, and so forth and so forth. And if you were track plotting, you could color the boat symbol. And you can display colors or you can display no colors. That is if you want to be black and white here. So charting options, I always display colors. And you, if you're in the boat track plotting and you want to display black on white, or white on black, excuse me, this cuts down the incidental stuff in the in the cockpit, so you're not overwhelmed by the brilliance of the map or the chart. Now, under map, as I said, you can create a map, which we did. You can modify a map, you can view it, you can show all the maps you have if you have a bunch. And let's say that let's get back to where we're in the normal track charting thing here. Let's say I want to see how many NOAA charts are in my list here. So I'm going to show all maps, all the NOAA charts that are in the folder. See, all of these cap files are various NOAA charts. The ones with numbers like this are standard scanned NOAA charts, and you could go to bathymetric charts as well, which are the ones that are NOS Geo style, and they all start with a letter. So let's say that we I've opened up a cap chart, so we'll open up, and notice now that we have a whole raft of squares, each one with a NOAA chart number on it. There's 11434_1, 11439. So what we do with this was we pan over using an arrow key on the keyboard. Say, now what chart best encompasses up a particular area. If we wanted to be up here around Marathon, we might pick 11451_14. Again, the name of the chart is in the middle of the left-hand side of the displayed outline of a chart. I didn't put all the charts up, of course, because it'd be just a whole horrible mess. But in this case, you see the outlines of all the charts. So if we zoom out some more, we can see we have a very large scale charts, very small scale charts, little teeny ones like that one there, medium size and big ones, and ones that show the whole Gulf of Mexico, and so forth. So that's your introduction to charting and mapping in SeaMarks. Thank you for listening.